Experts agree. Losing a child creates the greatest form of emotional pain. And today, approximately 1 million parents grieve the loss of their child to fentanyl. This is beyond comprehension. And there are others, siblings, grandparents, other family and close friends, tens of millions. Many today feel despair and hopeless. But history teaches us that we have the power to change things. This starts when ordinary people refuse to accept what is unacceptable, and when they roll up their sleeves, and when they unify around a call for change. Those who founded this nation didn't merely crave freedom, they created it through organized action and resolve. Mothers Against Drunk Driving didn't merely oppose drunk driving, they drove change by mobilizing communities nationwide. United Against Fentanyl was formed with a mission of interrupting the use of illicit fentanyl through innovative, bold, and effective initiatives. One of the initiatives is called Walk for Lives, a national grassroots response to the fentanyl scourge, led by the survivors, parents, siblings, grandparents, and other family members. Across the nation, powerful community and national group identity is being birthed through shared values and synchronized commitment. This matters because isolation kills hope, but unity brings promise. United Against Fentanyl, we believe we can bring the change that's so desperately needed. Experts agree. Losing a child creates the greatest form of emotional pain. And today, approximately 1 million parents grieve the loss of their child.
Okay, I got the sign from Ringo. We are live. Welcome everybody to Walk for Life San Francisco. Yes. We actually are streaming this event live. There are more than 250 walks happening today. So for those of you joining us on the stream, welcome in. Thank you for doing that. You probably have no idea who I am, so I'll repeat it for all of you who are here. I'm Amy Gutierrez. Most people only call me Amy G because I'm a longtime in-game reporter for the San Francisco Giants. And yeah, right, I know. The folks streaming in probably aren't too excited about that, but that's okay because it's really, truly an honor to be here today at such an impactful and inspirational event. I'm honored to be your host. So let's get started. Today's event, it's actually being organized by United Against Fentanyl, which is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization that preserves and protects humanity with a focus on combating the fentanyl synthetic drug crisis. Their mission is to, across America, end the use of illicit fentanyl through innovative, bold, and effective initiatives. One of those is what you're doing today, Walk for Lives, which is being introduced to the nation as I speak in dozens of cities and towns across America. It's a comprehensive effort to significantly reduce fentanyl deaths through community-based awareness and educational campaigns in one large afternoon on one big, beautiful day, right, in San Francisco and beyond. And it's going to serve what we're doing right now as a digital event in San Francisco, California, and you can watch it later today live on YouTube. So we love that. We love our YouTube connections and how we're able to spread awareness and education through that. So as I mentioned, we have an amazing lineup of speakers for you here today. So I hope you'll all start to migrate towards the stage so you can hear their impactful messages. And I want to get started with a gentleman that you already heard from earlier today. He spoke before the walk, and he's someone whose story, it just can't be told enough. It is the heart of this movement today. He co-founded Micah's Hugs, after losing his son to fentanyl poisoning, and he's dedicated his life to saving others. Please, a warm welcome for Micah Sawyer.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming. It's really wonderful to see all these people come out and sort of support our cause, and all of us can come together and just sort of share our stories and keep the message moving. My name is Micah Sawyer, and I am the co-founder of Micah's Hugs. Micah's Hugs is a nonprofit organization that my wife and I started after we lost my son to fentanyl poisoning a little over 6 years ago. So Micah was actually a star athlete. He was the captain of the football team for two years in a row. He was the youngest person brought up to play varsity football at Annalee High School when he was 14 years old. He won the weightlifting competition at Annalee High School and was one of the most popular kids around. He was sort of who people thought was going to be most likely to succeed. I like to tell this so it helps people understand that while he was accomplishing all these things, he was also suffering with a substance abuse problem. And so, you know, who you think is a substance user is not necessarily just that stoner kid or that you know, who you might normally think is a substance user. While he was in high school, he was using substances and he was managing his addiction fairly well. After high school, things started to get a little harder for him to manage, a little bit more out of control. He started using heroin at some point, and he came to work for me at my business. When he first started working for me, he was very, very mature. He was very responsible. He always showed up when he was supposed to. And slowly his habits started to get worse and worse as it went on. He started coming to work late. He started not working hard. He started just not showing up. And there was one day when he didn't show up at work at all. He was supposed to be there at 7, and by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he still wasn't there, so I went looking for him. And I found him at his friend's house, still in bed. It was very hard for me to wake him up, and I had to shake him and shake him and shake him. He finally did wake up. And I said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "This isn't normal behavior. This isn't how most people behave." And he said, "Dad, I've been smoking heroin." And that hit me like a ton of bricks. And this was, you know, over 6 years ago. So this was early on in the epidemic that we're facing right now. So at that point, I wasn't really aware of how much opioids were out there in the community. From that point, that really changed our whole lives. We started going down this road of him in and out of recovery, doing really well with his addiction, falling off and not doing so well, quite a few years. And we say that my addiction became trying to save my addict at that time. I became a little bit obsessed with trying to save him, and it took over my life. After a while, he did get clean. And for about 7 months, he was clean and doing very well. He got a job. He was living with his mom at his mom's house. And at 6 o'clock in the morning one morning, I got a call from his mom. And I knew that something was wrong because she would never call me normally at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that's the first thing that came to my mind is, oh, shit, is this that call that all of us that have addict loved ones are dreading may come? And when I answered the phone, she said, "I can't wake him up. I can't wake him up." And I said, "Just call 911. I'm on my way." By the time I got there, the paramedics and the police were there, and they had roped off the garage, and it was a crime scene, and he was dead. They made it a crime scene so we couldn't go in and see him. And what had happened is he had relapsed after being clean for 7 months. He smoked black tar heroin that was laced with fentanyl, and that fentanyl is what killed him in that black tar heroin. And that's where fentanyl really changed the story of drug use, and it just made it into something that's so incredibly, incredibly dangerous. Micah was my best friend. We did everything together when he was young. We had so many things together in our lives that we did. Everything from wakeboarding, motorcycle riding, football, everything that he was into. So this was a real change to my life. And I went from this parent that had this kid that was star athlete, star football player, most likely to succeed, to a parent that had an addict of a kid who became homeless at one point, living in his truck on the streets, to a parent of a kid who had died from fentanyl poisoning. And that changed the story of who I was as a person. Completely changed my story. There's no doubt about it. We started Micah's Hugs to try to help other people that were struggling. We went through the grief that I had gone through. We wanted to make sure that other families didn't have to go through that same sort of grief. And there's just so much the grief that goes on around something like this, and how much that grief spreads out to so many other people around the person that's passed away that's even hard to imagine. So we didn't want other families to have to go through that. We started helping in every way we and other people about the dangers that are out there and how to deal with those dangers. We do a lot of different products. We're very proud of the fact that we have now distributed over 28,000 doses of Narcan in the local community. Thank you. We also have a scholarship program that we run, and we have now given about $75,000 out in scholarships to people that need to go into sober living events, and we help tons of people in every way that we can. So, if anybody needs anything and any help, come and see us up at the Micah's Hugs tent, and we can help out in any way. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. We really appreciate you here, and we'll go on to the next speaker.
Thank you, Micah. Your courage and vulnerability are so appreciated. It's so important to be able to share difficult words to hear. Please join me in welcoming our next speaker, Agent in Charge of the DEA San Francisco Field Division, Bob Barris.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us. My name is Bob Barris. I'm the DEA Special Agent in Charge for the San Francisco Division. It's an honor to be here today. The importance of public safety events like Walk for Lives cannot be overstated. Walk for Lives gives families who have lost loved ones to fentanyl in communities across the United States an opportunity to be on the front lines and raise awareness. You are our force multiplier. Today, families just like yourselves are gathered here in San Francisco and across the United States for Walk for Lives to raise awareness on the fentanyl crisis. It connects families and communities affected by fentanyl, gives us a chance to provide education and prevention treatment resources, allows you to support efforts for policy changes. Each step you take helps break the stigma and creates a visible community of people united against fentanyl deaths. Drug trafficking cartels are killing Americans with deadly fentanyl at catastrophic rates. Over the past year, 84,000 drug overdose deaths happened in the United States. And while most recent data indicates that there's been a slight decrease, we're still losing too many lives. On average, 230 people a day died. That's 1 every 5 minutes to drug overdoses, driven in large part by fentanyl. It's the leading killer of Americans between the ages of 18 and 45, and quite frankly, it's robbing us of our future. Criminal organizations use social media as a superhighway. Anyone who has a smartphone has a drug dealer with them. Social media apps are being used by traffickers to peddle synthetic fentanyl in a variety of forms. Counterfeit prescription pills are sold in rainbow colors. Fentanyl powder is marketed to look like saltwater taffy. This branding is being done as a gimmick to lure a new batch of customers. They appear seemingly harmless, but there's nothing further from the truth. Fentanyl is fentanyl, regardless of its shape or color. An amount that could fit on the tip of a pencil, just 2 milligrams, can be a potentially lethal dose. In 2024, DEA laboratories analyzed fentanyl pills that we seized on the streets and found that 5 out of every 10 pills contained a potentially lethal dose. It's truly a game of Russian roulette. The amount of fentanyl DEA seized last year alone is enough to kill every American. It's everywhere, from large metropolitan areas to rural areas. Fentanyl has been found its way in every community, in every corner of the United States. The One Pill Can Kill campaign helps spread the word about these dangerous fentanyl pills. The only safe medications are the ones that come from licensed and accredited medical professionals. While enforcement is a necessary element to put a dent in the drug trade, it isn't enough. Law enforcement can't do it alone, and we aren't alone. Education, prevention, and treatment are critical factors. Collaborative efforts like this event can lead to action, and action can lead to change. I want to thank Paul Martin and Micah's Hugs for organizing this event. Your work here today will serve as a reminder we cannot waver on our mission to save lives. Our future depends on it. I look across this park and I see photos of lives lost too soon. DEA offers an opportunity of sharing your photo of your loved ones with the Faces of Fentanyl Memorial. The Face of Fentanyl exhibit is a reminder that our work against these dangerous criminal organizations is far from over. The families affected by fentanyl deserve justice, and this is what the men and women of DEA strive to deliver every day. Your courage helps bring visibility and a real impact to this crisis. and help others find strength in the shared experience. Visit DEA.gov Faces of Fentanyl if you'd like to share your loved one's story. Remember, one pill can kill. Your voice can save a life. For more information, please visit onepillcankill at DEA.gov. Thank you for being here today.
Bob, thank you so much. Those are really shocking statistics, but so important to get out into the public for awareness and education. We're incredibly appreciative of Bob's time. We know how busy he is, and obviously his tireless efforts. Our next speaker represents what we call lived recovery. He's a recovering addict, and he's turned his journey into a source of hope and prevention, sharing his story through the Every 11 Minutes program and with communities across California. Please put your hands together for Jeremy Kelsey.
Thank you. Give it up for yourselves, y'all. Thank you for coming out. My name is Jeremy. I'm a Bay Area native, and I burned my life to the ground with fentanyl. I come from every bio, psycho, social, genetic predisposition. I come from a long line of addicts and alcoholics, PTSD, anxiety, trauma, ADHD, social. I shopped at a lot of Goodwill stores when I was young. My mom smoked with the windows rolled up, and I used to drink out of a lot of water hoses, y'all. I've seen jails, institutions, and death. They knew me on a first-name basis at the Sonoma County Jail. I've been in safety cells, wrapped in a mock, and had to eat food with my hands. Numerous 5150s, because I wanted to be alone in the cell while I detoxed. Do you want to harm yourself? Yes, I want to harm myself. Are you sure you want to say that? Yes, I want to say that. Bad choice every time, y'all. Death. I've overdosed. Let me change my language. I've been poisoned numerous times, and I've been revived. On my last poisoning, I had a spiritual experience, and I turned myself into that same jail a day later. I waited for a bed in jail for 4 months, went to Turning Point, rehab for 6 months, went to an SLE, and now today, I'm 4 years clean and sober, y'all. I turned it all around. I went to the same places, same trap houses, same streets that I used to be homeless at, and I did something different. I showed them you can change. I handed out fentanyl test strips. Narcan, I started working in treatment. RIP Carlos Naretto, a.k.a. Grumps. It's one of the many faces that just kind of blur together the people that I've lost to this crisis. He was a great person, and I used to be on the streets with him, in the trap house, in jail. He was the first guy to get an actual job and get on salary, and I was like, damn, he did that. I could do that. I looked up to him. I looked up to Carlos. He had a relapse. They revived him, and we're at work the next day smoking cigarettes, and I'm like, bro, you're the smartest person I know, but you can't outwit this addiction. And he said, Jeremy, chill. I'm smarter than this addiction. A couple days later, he was found dead in his brand new apartment that he bought with that salary, y'all. RIP Ryan Hughes, somebody that talked me off the ledge all the times I wanted to leave in treatment. And he said, dude, think of your kids. And I did. I thought of my kids, and I didn't leave. I went to an SLE. He decided not to. He was found in bed, dead with his child, fentanyl poisoning. Donald Harvey, one of my best friends, a friend that was genuinely happy for my happiness, sad for my sadness, bigger than life, got took out by a little blue pill the size of my pinky. RIP Donald Harvey. On my last high, they had me in the Sonoma County Jail. I took apart a trap house. I broke every window out, took an axe to the door, and they finally got me. And I was glad I was safe in the back of that squad car. I'm coming out of it 5 days. They say, Kelsey, you got a visitor. I said, I have a visitor? Who wants to see me? I've burnt bridges with every single person in my life. And as I sat across in that visiting room, my daughter, who was 23 years old, was there on the other side. And she said, look at me, Dad. I could barely make eye contact with her. And then I did. And she said, Dad, maybe this is just the storm before the calm. I'll never forget that. And those words helped me get clean and sober. 2 years later, she's strung out on the same drug that I'm fighting against, y'all, and I'm scared I'm going to get that phone call. So today, we just don't remember the ones we lost, but the ones that we have not lost yet. Recover or die, y'all. Thank you.
Wow. Some people leave you speechless. That's not good for my career. Jeremy, thank you for sharing and trusting us with your personal journey. You're a warrior. He's a warrior. Give it up for Jeremy one more time. Okay, to help us understand the broader picture, we're honored to have one of the nation's leading experts in addiction and public health from UCSF, Professor of Family and Community Medicine, Dr. Daniel Ciccarone.
Thank you. So be settled, relax. I've got a very short 45-minute talk to give. Yeah, I'm an academic, and I gotta explain myself, right? Anyway, it's really lovely to be here. I know there's some sadness, there's grieving, there's people that have been lost. My condolences to those of you who have lost loved ones. But what I also see here is community, right? People who care, people willing to come together because you want change. And we need that. We need that because fentanyl is a historic foe. We have never faced a drug like fentanyl in this country. It has killed more people than any other drug epidemic, if you will, in history. 500,000 Americans have died over the last 10 years of the fentanyl epidemic. So it is a fearsome foe. And to some degree, fear is appropriate, right? We can be afraid of this thing. We can be afraid of those pills. One pill can kill. But fear cannot be the basis of our public policy. Fear brings out the worst in us. It brings out anger. It brings out finger pointing. It brings out stigma and the internalized form of stigma, which we call shame. And to the degree that the media, public discourse, public policy is based on fear, it's going to go the wrong way. We can't arrest our way out of this problem. We know that. Everyone here knows this. We know that if we allow stigma to win, if we allow shame to be internalized, people are going to feel not worthy. They're going to say, I'm not worthy to take care of myself. I blame myself for my addiction. I need to run and hide and not go into the recovery program and not go into the treatment, the medical treatment program. And what is the answer? The answer to fear is love. The answer to fear is compassion. The answer to fear is anti-stigma. And one philosophy that I'm going to promote might rub people a little bit the wrong way. It's not the philosophy that's in vogue right now, is harm reduction. Harm reduction has the answer, thank you, to fear because it works through love. It works through compassion. It says, I see you, I hear you, I'm going to treat you with respect. I'm going to treat you with dignity. And to the degree that you're doing the self-blame game, I'm going to help you work through that. It engages people. There's no program that will engage people better than street-based harm reduction programs. It rehumanizes people, it gives them back dignity and respect, and empowers them. We need it more than ever. Now, this is not harm reduction versus something else. This is harm reduction as part of a comprehensive system that includes wonderful 12-step programs, the whole breadth of religious and community-based recovery programs. It includes medicalized treatment, because treatment with medication is harm reduction and it's effective. So we need it more than ever. We need to tell the population, you are loved, you are worthy, come hither. Thank you all for your time and attention today.
Well, not only does he win funnest name to pronounce, Dr. Ciccarone, he dropped some words that will really stay with me forever, and I'm just going to share that we can't arrest our way out of this problem. You know, you hear something sometimes and it stops you in your tracks. Thank you. Dr. Ciccarone, I keep wanting to say your name over and over. Are you sure you don't want to be a baseball player coming up to bat? Your hard work and dedication to this cause is so appreciated. I'm going to take a very quick moment to remind you all that when we're done here, we're about halfway through our speakers. We have wonderful resource tents back behind you that we hope that you'll peruse and take some of the materials. We encourage you to network and connect with people today, because partnership is how you get this movement to grow. And we want to take a moment to acknowledge our sponsors, community partners, and volunteers. This does not happen without all of that help. You know the saying, it takes a village. We're so appreciative. Moving on to our next speaker, she represents the voices of siblings, those who so often get overlooked because they grieve quietly, but they grieve deeply. She lost her brother to fentanyl and stands before us today at only 12 years old to bravely lend a voice to all siblings who face this unbearable loss. Put your hands together very loudly for Mariah George.
Hello, my name is Mariah George, and I lost my brother Braden George to an overdose in 2018. He left us for his journey at just 16 years old. Drugs doesn't take away your emotions, they can take away your life. You never imagine, not in a million years, that you'll lose someone you love so deeply to an overdose. My brother was the most smartest, funniest, amazing, he was everything. And it got taken away all because of drugs. Drugs still stole him from us, and at the end of the day, that's what's gonna happen. I still ask myself why heaven thought they needed him more than we did. Losing him means he won't ever see my friends, watch me get married, comfort me when life gets hard, or see me grow up and succeed. Those moments, the one that we shared, were stolen from drugs, and that pain doesn't go away. He can only see me succeed through looking down from heaven. Some people assume I might be embarrassed to say that my brother died from an overdose, but I'm not embarrassed and I'm not ashamed. I am heartbroken, and that heartbreak has become my reason to speak out. When I volunteer to teach people how to use Narcan, people are often surprised to see someone my age standing at that booth, but that's my reality. Just because I lost my brother doesn't mean I will stay silent. My goal is to share his story and do everything I can to save lives, because fentanyl and other dangerous drugs are stealing too many brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters. If my brother's story can even save one life, then I know I honored him as his little sister. We need fentanyl off our streets so kids like me don't have to visit their siblings at the cemetery. Thank you.
You all weren't privy to my discussions with Mariah before she came up here. She's extremely nervous, and she is 12 years old. You are such an inspiration to everyone to do that. It's not easy to do. Next, we have one of San Francisco's leaders who has shown a deep commitment to supporting community health, safety, and resilience, while being a strong advocate for innovation, equity, and solutions that uplift our city's most vulnerable. Representing District 5, we're delighted to have with us today San Francisco Supervisor Bilal Mahmood.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for walking and making a statement here today in the heart of San Francisco on behalf of so many of those who have lost their lives to the fentanyl crisis. I represent the Tenderloin neighborhood, where I live and reside as well. And the thing I see every day walking those streets are families and children and grandparents walking the streets of every block. But what you also see are the stories of the lives lost. Last week, I unfortunately went to a service where a young adult who was born and raised in the Tenderloin lost their life to fentanyl. I met his mother, who was not just there by herself at this service, but was surrounded by nearly 50 other community members from her community to provide her with support. What that moment to me represented was that when you lose one life from fentanyl, it's not just that life you lose, but it is a wound in the entire community. It is a wound in the neighborhood that they live, and is a wound in our city. One life lost is like the entire neighborhood has lost a piece of its heart. And so, as a city, it reminds us that we have to do more. It takes a community when they are hurt. It takes a community to come together to act in resilience. Because the children of the Tenderloin, of which there are 3,500 in the neighborhood of the Tenderloin, more than any other neighborhood in the entire city of San Francisco. This is a city that has such beauty and joy, but like the story I shared, such tragedy as well. And to overcome that tragedy, it takes every one of us to share their stories and to walk, as you have done here today, to advocate to our city leadership that we need to raise awareness for this crisis. We need to raise awareness for the need for more money and support for things like prevention services, for more public safety, and for more support for those who have lost their lives and those who are left behind. So thank you, everyone from Walk From Our Lives, for being here today, for standing up for the lives lost, but also for the lives that are left behind. Thank you for all you do, and here in the city and county of San Francisco, we're going to continue to advocate until we get as little to no drug deaths in the city of San Francisco on behalf of the children and families that live in our most vulnerable communities. Thank you for standing up for us today, and we're here to stand up for you for the years to come.
A big thank you to Supervisor Mahmood. We're so grateful for your time and support of this event. Also joining us today, the founder of both United Against Fentanyl and Walk for Lives, the national movement behind today's event. Please extend a warm welcome to Mr. Paul Martin.
Well, thank you, San Francisco. It's an honor to be here, and I suppose I am the founder of this organization, but I have to say Walk for Lives wasn't cooked up as a marketing idea or in a marketing department or as some kind of program. When we launched this organization last year, began receiving dozens of inquiries. People found us on our website, mostly moms, and they said basically a couple things. I lost my child. I need to do something in my community. I'm tired of other parents thinking Walk for Lives was a response to about 50 moms who had reached out to us. And we threw it out, came up with a name, and had hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of mostly mothers, but also fathers and siblings raise their hands across the country. Today was the day where, after months of training, they were activated to lead walks from Burlington, Vermont, down to San Diego, California, from Tacoma, Washington, down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And it's very humbling because Walk for Lives, you know, yeah, I guess it's part of United Against Fentanyl, but it is run and led by people like Micah and this young, beautiful 12-year-old who just spoke. It's driven by those who understand this crisis more than anybody else. The family members who have been devastated by this very dangerous and unique drug. And I'm just going to be done right now, but about 4 or 5 months ago, people started asking me, you know, you're having these things all across the country, they're being led by parents. What is it about? Is Walk for Lives, you know, is it just about more awareness? And I struggled to answer the question because there will most certainly be a Walk for Lives next year. And I really dug deep. And what I came up with was this. Social movements have changed history going back to women's suffrage, to Gandhi, to civil rights, to mothers against drunk driving. When a bunch of moms said, we can't deal with this anymore, and organically, the survivors organized with synchronized messaging around the country. And they literally changed culture. When I grew up, drinking and driving in high school was normal. Some of you are nodding. Mothers Against Drunk Driving changed culture with grassroots organizing in communities, rural, suburban, urban. And so I wrote, with the help from some really smart people that are on our board, advisory board, what's called the United Against Fentanyl Manifesto. So we want to see stuff done, to read them, because we know that words have power. Sometimes people say talk is cheap, and it's true, but also words have been used to declare war before, or people have said the pen is more powerful than the sword. So we put together a manifesto, a declaration of where we want to go, not as some organization, but unified with nonprofits like Micah's Hugs, all the hundreds of mothers and fathers leading fentanyl awareness groups. I'm such a fan of the DEA and government agencies that are in the trenches. But let me read the 5 pillars, because I believe these are the 5 areas where we must prevail in every single one of them to see the kind of change that we so desperately need in a crisis that the world has never seen. And here it is. Pillar number 1 is to stop stigma. We put it first, because if you held a gun to my head and said, Paul, what's the biggest problem? I would say it's stigma. And so we say this, because addiction is not a mere choice or a moral failure, and because stigma shames users and prevents them from seeking help, and because recognizing substance use disorder as a disease that can be treated, and here's the call to action. We call on all Americans to stop stigmatizing addiction. Pillar number 2, stop denial. Because the brains of young people are still developing. And because a lapse in judgment should not result in death. And because counterfeit prescriptions like Xanax are lethal. And because fentanyl doesn't discriminate between neighborhoods, political parties, or tax brackets. And because denial can be deadly. And here's the call to action. We call on parents to stop thinking fentanyl can't kill their children. Number 3, and I'm going to preface it by saying this is a different drug. because fentanyl dealers are killing our citizens one pill at a time, and because they know fentanyl is in most street drugs, and because every dealer who stops selling means safer communities and save lives, and because greed doesn't justify poisoning our loved ones, here it is. We call on drug dealers to stop selling lethal drugs to our loved ones. Pillar number 4, stop Mexican cartels. Let me be clear. We're not saying Mexicans and we're not saying Mexico. We're saying Mexican cartels, and I want to be very clear about that. Because Mexican cartels are global criminal organizations who terrorize and murder their own people. And because they enrich themselves by manufacturing and exporting fentanyl into our communities. And because stopping them protects our children and ensures public health and safety, we call on Mexican cartels to stop making poison that kills our citizens. And lastly, and again, I want to make the distinction between China or Chinese versus a government led by one man. Because the Chinese government promotes the sale of chemicals that are used to make fentanyl. And because Chinese companies sell these deadly ingredients to the cartels. And because the Chinese government could stop its human rights abuses, including these poisonous substances from entering the supply chain and killing our people, we call on China's leaders to stop enabling the global trade of fentanyl. Thank you to Micah's Hugs. Thank you to everybody here today. It's an honor to be part of this.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for everything you do and for helping bring this event to the Bay Area. Next, we have a gentleman who brings the perspective of public safety and intelligence. As Executive Director of the Northern California High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area and the Northern California Regional Intelligence Center, he works every single day to address this crisis. It's my pleasure to welcome Mike Sawyer.
Thank you. And, everyone here today understands that the fentanyl threat that we have in our communities destroys the hopes, the dreams, and the lives of the people that we love. The things that we have been doing, and those that don't know the high-intensity drug trafficking area program and haven't been by the booth, make sure you get by the booth and get some of the materials over there. But our program was designed by Congress in 1988 to bring together federal, state, local, tribal, territorial partners, law enforcement, our partners in public health to address these threats. And when we look at San Francisco, this has become the epicenter for this entire region for fentanyl trafficking. And there's a great team right here that is working on that. I've got Mark Carendang, who is my drug intelligence officer that works on the prevention side. Karen Sherwood, my deputy director. Senshir Ortiz, my investigative manager for our investigative support center. But I also have the analysts here. The folks that their job is to put a spotlight, and there's a little group out here, raise your hands. They're the folks that every day are doing the effort to put the spotlight on the folks that are bringing this deadly substance into our area. But we also have support from a larger community of all the federal agencies, all the public health partners, working together to try to look at these groups and these individuals that are bringing the poison into our community, that are really causing the death and the mayhem. And 2 years ago, we brought everyone together to look at who was actually dealing. And no one realized that there were over 1,000 dealers, many of them operating the Tenderloin, over 500 of them that all came from the same community. in Central America that are out there dealing every day, that are out there every day causing the next overdose and ultimately leading to that next death. But it's not just what we're doing to identify those folks in the enforcement side, it's also the prevention side. We have to stop people from losing their hope, losing their dreams, and losing their lives. But it also incorporates every one of you in figuring a way to not be silent, to get your voice heard, to get people to understand. For far too long, we talked about the stigma, our speakers, about how that impact. No one wanted to talk about addiction in their family until it happened, until they lost somebody. We have to help the next family from this tragedy. We have to help the next kid from taking the drugs. That one pill can kill campaign that DEA talked about, that is something that's happening over and over again. The kids don't know what they're taking. And once they take that one pill, we can't bring them back. And the impact that that has on every family, every brother, every sister, every mother, every father. And it's not just the kids. Fentanyl is killing kids, but it's also killing adults. It's got a wide age range. And, over 100 years ago, this was the center of opioid dens. But unlike the opioids that we had in the past, over the last decade, we have lost hundreds of thousands of lives. And we will lose more if we do not change the things that we're doing. So I want everyone here to think that, that walk, that first step you made today was a part of this journey. And the work that we have ahead of us, we have to do together. So if you haven't had an opportunity, Mark, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand again. But please connect with Mark. He's the guy that works on our prevention team with his partner who's a public health analyst. Our goal is to get out there, to talk to people, to bring the communities together, and to stop this threat that's impacting not just our community, but every community across our country. We can do this together, and I really appreciate the organizers bringing us here today, and I appreciate you being out here in the sun to listen to the words that we all have to say and the message that we've got, that we can work together and we can make a difference and we can save lives. Thank you.
We appreciate you, Mike. Thanks for helping lead the charge. Our last speaker is another parent who turned her loss into advocacy. She founded Tasha's Story to honor her son and to prevent more families from experiencing this type of pain. Please put your hands together and give a warm welcome to Carrie Luther.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, excuse me, to all the speakers before me. They all said so much of what I usually say, and I speak regularly to students at junior highs and high schools, and to law enforcement agencies, to students everywhere. Anyone who will listen, I will speak to, because this is a community issue. This is not my issue because I lost someone, or I'm speaking to the choir here, really. And people as a community really need to understand the dangers of fentanyl and how it can impact their families and their communities. I usually start out by saying, I wish I could say I'm happy to be here, but the only reason I'm here is because my son died from fentanyl poisoning. I'm grateful to be here to share with you what I've learned and what I hope that you'll take to your communities and share with your friends and families, your neighbors, your stores where you visit. I can't tell you how many times I've been able to tell my son's story because someone asked about my pendant, which is his signature. I find ways to open the lines of communication between myself and those around me. And that's how the message spreads. and the awareness happens about the dangers of fentanyl poisoning. And I am very explicit when I say fentanyl poisoning, because my son took a quarter of a Xanax, 1/4 of a Xanax, not even a pill, 1/4 of a Xanax to help him sleep, because he had had hives for 6 weeks and didn't know why, and he was going to go get a blood test. And he couldn't sleep that night, called his girlfriend, they talked for an hour, they hung up, he still couldn't sleep, called her back, and they hung up, and they had arranged to meet at 11 o'clock the next morning so they could go get his blood work done. And she didn't hear from him at 11 o'clock. So she started calling him, thinking, you know, he's standing me up, the bum. He was 29 years old. She went to his house because she couldn't get a hold of him, and his car was in the driveway, and she went inside. He lived in the Aptos Hills, if you know where that is, in Santa Cruz County. It's quite a long drive up there. And she went inside, and he didn't answer his bedroom door. So she went around the back of the house and could see through his bedroom window that he was laying on his stomach, but he was there. So she went back around and got inside somehow and touched his back, and he was cool to the touch, and rolled him over, and his lips were blue and his eyes were sunken. And she called 911 and started doing CPR, but it was way too late. The coroner and I believe he died at 1:30 in the morning after he took that quarter of a pill to help him sleep. I have a photograph of the other 3/4 of that pill, and it breaks my heart every time I see it. You know, he should be here today. I know you feel the same way about your loved ones. They should be here today. Someone said it earlier, one mistake should not take their lives. He did not know that he was using fentanyl. He died in 2015. 2015. He was the first in our county to die from fentanyl poisoning, and they didn't know. We didn't know. We didn't know anything about it. It was brand new. And the coroner said that they expedited his toxicology report to make sure, to confirm what they believed it was. And it turned out it was what they thought. And they found 14 nanograms of fentanyl in his system, and they'd known for people to die with as little as 3 nanograms. You know, he was not a big guy, 5'8", 130 pounds, soaking wet. He was an athlete, just like Micah Jr. He was a great baseball player in high school and was awarded Most Valuable Defensive Player. He was a purple belt in judo. You know, he had a promising future ahead of him, and it was stripped from him and from us. There's no going back, and he left behind 2 sisters and a brother and a newly born nephew 2 months ago, named after him. So we'll always have that, which is a beautiful thing. But my heart is in saving other lives in his name. And that's why you're all here, is you want to do the same thing. You want to save lives because you don't want other families to endure this pain. And they shouldn't be. So we'll keep fighting. You know, I get discouraged sometimes. It's been 10 years this October. I get discouraged. But when I come to an event like this, it's invigorating to know that we're still working at it, and we're going to keep working at it until we can make it go away. So thank you for your time.
If you can't tell, Carrie's that person that once you meet her, you feel like you're a better person because she's in your life. Thank you so much, Carrie. Yeah. It's a pretty quick synopsis on Carrie. All right. That got me a little emotional. Let's just give another round of applause to all of our speakers. your courage, your leadership, your advocacy. Voices have power. It's time now to celebrate our strength and community with what else? Music, food, and connection. Please make sure to take a minute to visit the resource fair and booths. There's wonderful resources up there for you. Once again, the sincerest thanks to our volunteers and sponsors and organizers. A round of applause, please. We can't do it without you. Today we walk together, but tomorrow the movement continues. And awareness is key to everything because it's awareness that saves lives. Be the change. Make sure to come back for this event next year and bring everyone you know, right? Let's fill this park up. How amazing would that be? Stay involved all year round. There's things that you can do to help. Thank you for choosing me to host this event. I'm a mother of 2, and it's at times like these when I hear some of the most difficult stories I've ever heard in my life that I see the community come together. And Carrie used the word invigorating, and I'm going to use the word uplifting. I have a drive back to Petaluma, and I'm going to go squeeze my 17-year-old really hard. Thank you. Okay. It's time for music. We need it. Let's get up and start grooving. It is my pleasure to welcome Notorious to the stage.
We believe we can bring the change that's so desperately needed.